Venus, a name that evokes both beauty and danger. Often called Earth's evil twin, this nearby planet has fascinated astronomers for centuries. But what if Venus is more than just a distant curiosity? What if it holds a powerful warning for us about climate change and the fragility of our own planet? Venus and Earth have a lot in common. They're similar in size and composition. Both are rocky planets with thick atmospheres, and for billions of years they evolved under the same star, the Sun. Yet despite these similarities, the two worlds couldn't be more different today. While Earth is teeming with life, covered in oceans and graced by temperate climates, Venus is an inhospitable hellscape. Its surface is hotter than any other planet in the solar system, even hotter than Mercury, the closest planet to the Sun. Temperatures on Venus soar to nearly 900 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt lead. The air is a thick, crushing soup of carbon dioxide, with clouds of sulfuric acid drifting above the surface. It's a world that seems like it belongs in a nightmare rather than our solar system. But how did Venus, which likely began as a planet not so different from Earth, become this fiery wasteland? The answer, many scientists believe, lies in an extreme version of a process we're familiar with right here at home, the greenhouse effect. And that's where the warning comes in. The greenhouse effect, in its most basic form, is a natural process. Certain gases in a planet's atmosphere, like carbon dioxide, trap heat from the sun. Without these gases, Earth would be a frozen ball of ice. But there's a delicate balance. Too much of these gases, and a planet can overheat. That's what happened on Venus. At some point in its past, the planet experienced a runaway greenhouse effect. Massive amounts of carbon dioxide, likely released from volcanic activity, filled the atmosphere. This trapped more and more heat, causing temperatures to skyrocket. As Venus heated up, any water that might have existed on the planet evaporated into the atmosphere, adding even more greenhouse gases in the form of water vapor. This, in turn, trapped even more heat, creating a vicious cycle that spiraled out of control. The result? A planet so hot and hostile that it's impossible for life, as we know it, to exist there. This runaway greenhouse effect turned Venus from a potentially habitable planet into a cautionary tale. And while Earth is far from becoming another Venus, the comparison isn't as far-fetched as we might like to believe. Here on Earth, we're also experiencing a greenhouse effect, but this time, it's driven by human activity. The burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas is releasing massive amounts of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into our atmosphere. These gases are trapping heat, just as they did on Venus, and causing Earth's temperatures to rise. This process, known as global warming, is already having profound impacts on our planet. Glaciers are melting, sea levels are rising, and extreme weather events are becoming more frequent and more intense. The difference between Earth and Venus, for now, is that we still have time to act. But the story of Venus serves as a stark reminder of what can happen when a planet's climate goes unchecked. It's a glimpse into a possible future, one that we should do everything in our power to avoid. The surface conditions on Venus are so extreme that most spacecraft can't survive long there. The Soviet Union's Venera missions in the 1970s were the first to land on Venus, but they only managed to transmit data for a few minutes before the intense heat and pressure destroyed the landers. Since then, we've mostly studied Venus from orbit, using radar to peer through its thick clouds and map its surface. And what we've found is both fascinating and terrifying. Venus is covered in vast plains of volcanic rock, with towering mountains and deep valleys. There's evidence that volcanic eruptions may still be happening today, releasing even more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. But what makes Venus truly unique is its atmosphere. At the surface, the atmospheric pressure is 90 times that of Earth. That's like being 3,000 feet underwater. And while our atmosphere is made mostly of nitrogen and oxygen, Venus's atmosphere is almost entirely carbon dioxide, a potent greenhouse gas. This thick atmosphere traps heat so efficiently that even though Venus is farther from the sun than Mercury, it's actually hotter. It's a chilling example of how powerful the greenhouse effect can be when left unchecked. The question that naturally arises is whether Earth could ever follow a similar path. Scientists are quick to point the planet are clear. The more greenhouse gases we pump into the atmosphere, the more we risk pushing our climate system to a dangerous tipping point. The idea of a runaway greenhouse effect on Earth is still considered unlikely by most scientists, But that doesn't mean we're safe. Even a less extreme version of what happened on Venus could be devastating for life on Earth. Already we're seeing the consequences of a warming planet: more frequent heat waves, droughts, and wildfires, stronger hurricanes and typhoons, melting ice caps and rising sea levels. These changes are happening faster than many scientists predicted, and they're having real-world impacts on communities around the globe. The story of Venus should serve as a wake-up call, a reminder that the stakes are high and the time to act is now. But it's not all doom and gloom. There's still time to prevent the worst effects of climate change, and we have the tools and knowledge to do so. By transitioning to renewable energy sources like wind, solar, and geothermal, we can reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and cut down on greenhouse gas emissions. By protecting and restoring forests, which act as natural carbon sinks, we can help remove some of the carbon dioxide that's already in the atmosphere. And by investing in new technologies and innovations, we can create a more sustainable future for ourselves and for generations to come. Venus may be a world of fire and heat, but it's also a world of lessons. It shows us the importance of balance, of keeping our planet's atmosphere in check. It reminds us of the fragility of our environment and the need to protect it. And perhaps most importantly, it offers a glimpse of what can happen when a planet's climate spins out of control. As we continue to study Venus, we're learning more and more about its past, and by extension, our potential future. NASA's upcoming missions to Venus, like the Da Vinci and Veritas missions, will provide new insights into the planet's atmosphere and surface. These missions could help us understand how Venus became the scorching world it is today, and whether it might have once been more Earth-like in its distant past. Could Venus have had oceans? Could it have supported life? These are questions that scientists hope to answer in the coming years. But even as we look to Venus for answers, we must also look to our own planet, because while Venus may offer a window into a worst-case scenario, we're still in control of our own destiny. The choices we make today about how we produce energy, how we manage our resources, and how we care for the environment will determine what kind of future we leave for our children and grandchildren. Will we heed the warning from our evil twin, or will we follow Venus down a path of no return? The answer is up to us. So the next time you look up at the night sky and see that bright, shining point of light that is Venus, remember that it's more than just a planet. It's a reminder of the consequences of inaction, but it's also a symbol of hope, a challenge to rise to the occasion and protect the only home we've ever known.